Aw, shit. Here we go again.
Welcome to the Sloppy Book Club podcast. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Celese, and welcome to season 4, episode 3. This is a fun and exciting episode. On this episode, we will be chatting with our guest author, who is Marilu Moser, and we're excited to have her on and for her to talk to us about her books.
Yes. So let's just bring her right on.
Mhm.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So happy to have you on.
I'm
Yes,
happy to
yes.
be here.
So I'm Jenny,
And
and
I'm Celese.
Mary,
nice to meet you. Oh,
Oh,
look at
look at the books!
your book. We both just started it too.
Yes.
oh,
Mhm.
yay.
Yes.
So we figured, I don't know if you have a drink or anything with you.
I do. I'm sorry. I'm turning off all my sounds.
Nope, you're fine.
So I
You know
have
what? That's
my
a good
wine
thing.
and I also have my water.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a
Stay
multi.
hydrated.
Are you usually a red wine drinker? Or
I'm
do you
a
like white?
I have open for wine drinker.
I like that. Well, I have a tea today.
Oh, nice.
Oh, to your book. I was
Mhm.
gonna have a drink, but it's late, so I'm like, I'm gonna go with tea.
It's a good choice. I might just end up drinking my water though.
Mhm. I have my little cider. I always go for a hard cider. So
I haven't had cider in a very long time.
this, I was just telling Jenny, this one tastes like carbonated apple juice. Like you just bit into an apple, but it has like that fizziness of a carbonated drink. It's so good.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
This one
I
is
keep saying I'm gonna try it, and then I
Carl
never go and buy it.
Carlson Orchards.
Oh, I wonder if they
Yeah.
have I am.
Oh, I forget.
Mm.
You're in Canada, right?
California.
California. Oh,
Yep,
okay.
California. It's
Yep.
awesome.
Oh, because I put Canada time or something. I don't know why.
Okay, you're
I
allowed.
don't know why.
It's the abbreviation for California. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we usually start off talking about like your writing process, things like
Mhm.
that, and then we'll get into the book right after that.
Okay.
So do you want to start off by telling us all about you?
I'm Marilu Moser.
Mhm.
I write paranormal and monster romance. So even though I write spicy, the whole book isn't spicy itself. It just has spicy scenes. I am a mom, a wife. I have moved a lot. So I get like my inspirations from like the different places that we moved to, things that I've seen. I'm pretty much like a generally like laid back person.
Mm.
So like I'm more of a, let's just see how it goes. We'll just go with it and figure it out. I'm also like a really big like crime like documentary and show enthusiast. So like if
Nice.
Awesome.
I'm not writing, I'm like on the couch writing like watching some kind of crime show.
Hmm.
That's my
My
husband.
husband and I did that a lot before our first son. I think it's like, what is it? ID Discovery or something,
Oh,
Investigation
yeah.
Discovery Channel. Oh my God, we were upset. We will fall asleep to it
Me
watching
too.
it.
I can't
And
do it. Nope.
I now I
Really?
can't. Now I can't. After having our first son, like I don't know, like it keeps me up at night. So like now I can't do it.
So like maybe it makes me slightly unhinged, but like even after like 3 kids, I'll put that on, I'll just pass out.
No,
I'm
I
like, this is so
can't.
relaxing to watch.
I can't.
No, it really was. Like we would like stay up and watch it and then just fall asleep to it, like if it was like background noises
Yeah.
and it's just like a murder mystery
Yeah.
in the
Okay, I don't know
background.
why this works, but it works.
Hmm.
It's too real for me. I'll dream about it. I could watch horror movies because it's fake. I could
Uh-huh.
fall asleep to it, but crime shows, crime like Discovery Channel stuff, I can't do it.
Oh, I love horror movies.
Mm,
Like my favorite movie genre. And it's
Hmm.
surprising because like I don't
same,
horror books, but I will watch it like
Hmm.
no matter like the season, spooky season or not, like I'm watching a horror movie.
same. Always on the Netflix horror movies kicks.
Yeah.
See, I can't do horror.
Really?
I'm a scaredy cat. That will keep me up. A horror movie.
I'll
A
watch a horror movie
Discovery
in bed.
one did it, but horror, oh no, I can't.
I've been trying to get her to read horror books, and it's not
Yeah.
happening.
Oh, but they're so good. You have to start with the perfect horror movie, like
She
ease way into
given
the
me
genre.
she's given me a list and I'll get there one day.
One day.
One day I would
Just do a
definitely
chapter a day.
Yeah.
I would have to. I really would. When did you decide you wanted to become an author? And did watching, Discovery, what is it, murder mysteries influence that in any kind of way?
So I grew up on like Reading Rainbow. Like that was like the show to watch. And I remember going like, oh, I want to be one of those kids on the show that reads and talks about the book. And as I got older, I was like, well, I kind of want to write the book. And as I started growing up and through high school, I would write these little stories and I would have them in a notebook and give it to like my friends and they would read it and then give the notebook back and they're like, when's the next part of the story? I'm like, it's
Aw,
just a short story, but okay. And I just kept writing these little silly short stories for them, like during study hall.
that's
And
so cute.
in
I
English
love that.
class, my favorite assignments were always when we had to do some type of creative writing.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, this is fun. This is nice. But it was always just a little hobby. And it wasn't until 2020 when, everything was shut down, there's nothing to do, where I was like, oh, okay, let me get on TikTok. And I found Book Talk. And I saw all these like indie authors like, oh, follow me on my journey to write a book. I was like, oh, what's this about? And that just kind of sparked everything from there. And now here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's
That's
where I
amazing.
found you and where I
Yeah.
found because I read A New Era. So
Hmm.
I found you on there and I read that one, which was really good, by the way. It's like a Reaper type story.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the Gargoyle's Gift,
Hmm.
right? That one too. Yep. So you're an indie author,
Hmm.
and I saw somewhere that you kind of have like your own imprint.
I do.
So how is that? How is that for you, like with marketing and social media and having your own imprint? Like, how did that come about for you?
So with indie authoring, it's one of those things where like you don't have to have an imprint. But in my mind, I had decided like if I'm gonna do this myself, I'm gonna do it all out. Because if I'm gonna have a book on someone's shelf, I want it to look just like a trad book would.
Hmm.
So if you look at trad books, like there's an imprint on them. Like who is the publishing house? So I was
Hmm.
like, okay, because I hold myself to the standard of what you would find for a trad book. So I did my research and I decided I was like, I'm gonna make an imprint, one house to hold all my books with a future goal of hopefully one day being able to help another indie author publish their book.
I love
That's
that.
awesome. I
And
love
finding the
that.
name for it was a whole ordeal because I was like, okay, well, what would I call it? Because you can name it anything you want, but I wanted something that would be memorable and still be true to who I am. So I always thought like, oh, I'm a bookworm, but I want something that's a little bit more striking and more powerful. So I was like, okay, well, what are some different words you can use?
Hmm.
So I came up with Tome Dragon Publishing, and that's the imprint for all of my books now.
Do you think like in the future, like you would want to just stick strictly with like fantasy books in that
Uh,
publishing?
I would want to stick with like fantasy, paranormal, and monster romance books.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be primarily romance if there's like a
Hmm.
subplot in there of romance, but
Hmm.
in those genres, because I feel like that's what I know best for the writing and the publishing process.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Now, um, how how do you prepare for your writing when you're, getting started? What does that look like for you? And do
Ooh.
you snack while you do it? Are there
Oh,
any particular snacks you need, a special drink you need in hand
oh,
to
we're
get
getting
you through
like all my
it?
quirks and rituals now. Okay, so before I start any manuscript, I do what I refer to as a brain dump doc. So I open up a document and it's just word vomit. There's no style structure. There's no, not even like a period, question mark, nothing. It's just a complete run-on sentence, basically, of everything I want to have done for this book. And then once I have that and I print it out, each book gets an assigned notebook, and it gets into that notebook, and that notebook gets a pen. Like, that is the pen in the notebook for that story.
Okay.
So like, if I'm like, oh, I want to think of this book, I know I'm going to that notebook and using that pen because that's what I have assigned for that. And it helps me focus on that once.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to actually writing, so one of the things that I found helps me is I have to like work out my fingers, because typing, it takes a toll on like your hands and your wrists and everything. And carpal tunnel, it's a real thing. Like,
Yeah.
so I have like finger bands that I will use, or like grippers that I use to like warm my hands up. Um, I have no less than 2 drinks at my desk or at the table when I'm working. It's usually water and tea or coffee. And my snack depends on what part of the process I'm on. If I'm doing like actual writing and not editing, I'll have like berries or like carrots to snack on. But if I'm editing, because editing, I enjoy it, but it's a process. So I have to reward myself with something a little bit more enticing. So I use Australian licorice as like my little treat. Like, oh, if I can like get this chapter done, I can get like 2 pieces of licorice this time. So, like, I have my licorice open and I'll eat that as I'm editing my books.
That is a whole ritual.
It is.
Do you listen to music or anything while you're writing, or are you in like complete silence?
I cannot work in complete silence.
Okay.
I find that the silence distracts me. So I have to have some kind of background noise, whether it's like a murder show that's on the background or like lo-fi music.
Oh, I love lo-fi.
Because when I'm actively writing, I can't listen to songs that have lyrics in them, because then I'm like listening too much to the lyrics and not what I'm supposed to be writing. When I'm doing brain dump, then I have like a whole playlist of songs that I feel would fit the vibe of the book, and I listen to those songs to like help like guide me, like, how would this feel, what lyric sparks an idea for a character. But actively writing, it's like lo-fi music.
When you said earlier that when you first draft and you like dump everything in, how long is that draft usually that you're printing out and putting in a notebook? Because I haven't heard that before. I haven't heard that you just like dump everything in there and then work off of that.
Yeah, so it honestly, it depends on the story. So for my new book, Who Invited the Demon to Tea, I think that dump was about 5 pages long. And it was mostly just like random lines, character names and descriptions, setting descriptions, banter back and forth. But the novellas are usually like a page long, maybe 2. Okay. And then I'll read through those documents, and then I cut up the documents like with pen, like I mark like what's going what. Do I need to move something somewhere else?
That makes sense. So let's talk about writer's block. I know some people have said they don't believe in writer's block. There's a whole process behind it if you are feeling that. And then there's other people that are like, yes, I definitely believe in writer's block. I have it all the time. How do you feel about it, and do you ever get it?
So I think writer's block is different for everybody, just like how the writing process is different for everybody. I think you might not feel inspired, and some people label that as writer's block. Or there'll be times where you're just thinking too hard about the story, and you can label that as writer's block. So I feel like writer's block is really like more of a fluid term when you don't really know what's causing you to not be able to write. Because I've been on like opposite ends where like I'm so hyper focused on a part of the story where it becomes too hard to write, or I'm just not inspired at the moment because life stressors happen and I can't focus on the book. And when that happens, I find that I have to step away from my project and learn that that's okay to step away from it because you don't want to force the words to come out.
Right.
Because then it's just garbage. And you're going to hate every word that you ever write.
Mm-hmm.
And I read completely outside the genre that I'm writing because I need
Okay.
my completely shift gears. And
Makes
then I'll come
sense.
back and reread and enter it again.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does. So when you are escaping or taking that break, that you need from writing, what are you doing? What is a hobby that you have that, takes you away from the writing process, makes you re-energize, refocus? What is it that you do to escape a little bit?
So I have a few things I like to do. So I love to bake. So I'll go on like baking sprees where it's just like, what happened? I don't know. There's like dozens of cookies and cupcakes everywhere.
Mhm.
I also found that I now have a love of Procreate. I started drawing like my own character
Okay.
arts and character art for like some of my other author friends.
That's
And
awesome.
to be able to just do something that you can just completely just focus on something else and watch it happen, it's just so relaxing. Or even just doing like adult coloring books.
I love
Those are
coloring.
fun.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
like, where are my markers? Where are the crayons? I'm doing this. Just like you just
Yeah.
zone color all these pages. It's wonderful.
TikTok
Coloring.
made me addicted to coloring.
Yes.
I was watching people just like color and like the different coloring books and the different kind of markers. And I'm just like,
Yes.
I want to do that. And it's just like something I like to do early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
like just a me time kind of thing if I don't want to read. And I love it.
I
I can't draw
remember,
very well, but I can color.
I remember going to a live where someone was just sitting there coloring. I was like, oh, this is nice.
hmm It's
And
so
like,
relaxing.
you have something color, just feel free to join in and color. So I was like, that's a great idea.
hmm I make fun of my son all the time because he watches like other people play video games and do all these things like on streaming. But here I am watching a lady make tumblers, like decorate tumblers with like paints and resin. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm not gonna buy it, but I love that you're making it. They're so cool. In the back
Right.
of my mind, I want one, but then I'm just like just staring at her just put paint and the tumbler's just turning and like it's decorating. And I was like, that's a pretty cool cup. I like that color
Yeah,
combo.
I saw one lady like making yarn and I got so like entranced by it. I was like, wow, this is
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
The way they get us.
I know.
Yeah.
So I love to ask this question.
Mhm.
If you were not writing, what career do you think you'd be doing right now, or do you wish you could be doing if it wasn't writing?
So I have my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I had geared it to child psychology because my original career idea was to be a child life specialist,
Okay.
Love that.
I
and I
love
went
child
the
specialists.
opposite way.
Mhm. As a teacher, I love that. I minored in psychology,
Oh,
so
nice.
mhm. We're gonna go right into her book.
Okay.
So tell us what your book is about.
So, Who Invited the Demon to Tea is
Mhm.
a friends to lovers paranormal rom-com. And basically, what happens is our female main character, who is Davina, she moves into her uncle's house that she inherited. And one day, as she's unpacking her house, she decides to make a cup of tea. And she finds an old nursery rhyme book that was in the attic. So she decides to just sit down before bed, drink her tea, and read from this book. But the book seemed a little off. And she accidentally summons a demon. And
She
that's
sure
how
does.
we find Mendax. And Mendax is on a kind of house arrest in his own realm for something that he didn't do. And
Mhm.
he meets her and decides he's going to lie and say that he can't go back to his realm. And he is stuck living in her house, forcing her to become roommates with him.
We love a good forced
Yeah.
proximity.
I
And he
know.
doesn't know any better because up until that point, none of that existed. None of it was real.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the progression of the relationship from strangers to friends, and along the plot, he ends up asking her to, hey, I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend. So they end up fake dating.
Mhm.
My favorite trope.
And
So
that's kind of where I am in the book,
mhm,
in that part.
In
yes,
the
It's
fake
so good.
dating.
I'm telling you, like I started reading it at 5 p.m. today,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where
oh,
I
you
got to.
are.
I was like, oh my God. I just kept going. I would have still been reading, falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Doing
See,
the same.
I'm still towards the beginning where she just found
Mhm.
she made the cup of tea and she's about to read the book and like all of that,
Oh,
that whole
I
part.
can't wait for you to see
So
their not so meet cute. Because everyone's like, oh, is he gonna have a meet cute? Not really. Not
no,
I
but
died laughing. It was
I'm
so funny.
really enjoying it. There's a lot of good, like funny, like laugh out loud kind of moments for her. And I'm
Mhm.
like really enjoying the beginning. I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I start this sooner?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
really hard to put down. I've really been enjoying it.
Like her whole like inner monologue, like
Yes,
everything she's thinking. I'm like,
yes.
oh my God, you're just like me.
The dating
Everything you're
app,
thinking, like
the dating app
inspiring.
portion had me cracking up.
Mhm.
The
So
the
good.
whole like all dudes are holding like a picture of a fish. Do
Yep,
they
with a
all
hat.
go to the same like pier spot and they're all holding the same picture? Because honestly, as someone who went on a dating app before, I'm like, that is so true. They're all like
Hmm.
in hat or sunglasses or with a t-shirt, no t-shirt, but holding a fish. Like, why?
Yep.
Okay. I've never been on a dating app,
Mm.
so I had to do my research.
It's
And like, scrolling through it all, that's all I would find. Like,
mhm.
you just do like a Google search, right? Of like these like profiles. I'm like, they all look the same. Like, why are they in the same pose? That's the same
Yeah.
fish. I swear it's the same fish.
It's
That's all
so
you hear. It's either they're holding the fish, they've got a hat, or they're in front of a truck.
Yes.
mhm. Yes.
The the part of the texting scene where she has the vault of pictures,
Yes.
that
That
is
was so good.
from my college days.
Oh
I
my
had
God.
a girl in one of my psychology classes, and she was like, "Ugh, I can't believe he sent me this on Facebook." And
Mhm.
like I saw her opening up like her phone, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I have these all saved in a vault." And I was like, "Oh my
Oh my
god!"
God. It's amazing.
So like I pulled that. I was like, "That's too good not to use."
It that's really, really good.
Hmm.
So what it inspired this story? Where did you get the inspiration for it?
So this story came from a few different places. Um, I had a couple of brain dump documents that were like half thoughts, and they weren't leading to any real story. And I was looking at them, I was like, well, what if I mash them together?
Hmm.
So I started pulling them together, and I was like, oh, I think I might have something here. And I started writing, and then I actually left the story when I became pregnant with my youngest, because I was just we were moving. I was like, I don't have time to write. And then after my youngest was born, I actually had PPA, which is postpartum anxiety. And one of the ways to distract myself was through reading, to try and like get myself out of the funk. And nothing was really working. So I decided, I was like, well, what if instead of listening to like the bad demons in my head, what if I wrote some good, funny, loving ones? So as I was going through like my journey of like postpartum, I wanted to make a world where it was welcoming and loving and funny, where people could escape to for a little bit and not have to worry and just have a good time. So like this book is like my whole journey through like my postpartum recovery.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. That's
That's so good to hear.
yeah, because it is
Yeah.
really funny and it is a like really enjoyable time. Like I'm
Yeah.
having such a great time in your world and
Hmm.
knowing that it came from maybe not so great of,
Hmm.
a beginning, but it's really beautiful. Like,
Hmm.
how you turn that around for yourself
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
so for a lot of moms, who are
Yeah.
going through that, just having you as an example of like, you could put that into something beautiful. And
Hmm.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
A
That's what
nice
I
little outlet.
Yes.
a world that was becoming a little dark, find
Hmm.
that little bit of light and expand it. And I
Hmm.
think that's what I did with this book. Because
Hmm.
I've heard from a couple people like, oh my God, I love this book. It was so funny the entire time. And
Hmm.
nothing makes me happier right now than knowing that writing this book when it was a rough time for me is bringing joy to someone else.
Yeah.
And that
Hmm.
just makes it even more worth it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes me so happy.
Yes, it
So
does.
happy for you. And I'm usually not like a rom-commy type of reader, like at all. I
That's
probably read
me.
like one. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's all her. But the fact that it's paranormal,
Hmm.
I
Mhm.
love that because I
Hmm.
love paranormal stuff. So yes, and I loved it. So good. So as far as your characters, who do you feel like were like some of your hardest ones to write and the easiest one in this story?
So the easiest character for me to write was Davina because I feel like Davina, while she like, I don't like to put myself into characters. I put her as like the rawest form of like human I could make because I have a world of just like demons and witches. How would someone react to that who didn't even know that existed? And
True.
I just like real reactions. Like,
Hmm.
hey, if a demon pops up and you don't think these are real, you're not going to swoon automatically.
That's
Right.
true.
Get out of your mind.
Right.
I
So
think that's what made it super relatable because I was like, oh my God, she's reacting and she's saying things in her head like I would even like right from the beginning.
mhm.
So like you saying that, that totally makes sense because yes, you're right. I would freak the fuck out too. So
Mhm.
I was like, because I've read so many books where it's like, oh, hey, here's this like 7 foot tall, handsome, charming like monster or demon or ghost, and they're like, oh, yay!
Mhm.
I didn't even know that was real.
Right.
So like, I wanted to write that reaction where it's like, okay, but knowing her personality and
Mhm.
how like free spirited she is, she's going to be apprehensive about it, but she's still going to go with it. And she's
Mhm.
yeah,
not going to tell anyone what she's thinking, but you as the reader get to experience what she's thinking. And I think that made it just a little bit more personal to get to
hmm
know her and a little bit more fun to write her.
I
The
love
hardest
that.
well character for me to write was um probably Oroth, who is
Okay.
Mendak's brother.
hmm
And it's not because he's a bad character. He's so much fun. But having that balance of like too much fun and becoming like the annoying frat boy because like he's not super young, but also making him the polar opposite of Mendax
Yeah.
and finding that balance because I wanted them to have that relationship where not only is Mendax a lot older than him, but they were raised differently, even though they had the same upbringing, different experiences, but different outcomes. So it's like, okay, how can I make him different, but still be able to have a relationship with everybody else? So
Mhm.
that was challenging for me.
I could see that. You did a good job making them like big brother, little brother type of sort of conflict, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Um, but yeah, I'm enjoying that so far.
Thanks.
What character from your book would you want to spend the day with?
I feel like they like Davida and Mendex would be too easy.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm not gonna pick them. I would
Mm-hmm.
really want to spend like the day with Rollback, who is Oroth's like best friend, because
Okay, I don't think I met him yet.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
he's very just like, all right, let's do it. Why not? and he encourages you to do the dumb stuff while also trying to like look out for you. Like he's there for a good time, but not too good of a time. And
Okay,
he
So what
also
would
okay.
you two do? What would be like an activity you two would do?
okay. So he his job is he's a scientist and he creates like these little like gadgets and gizmos and like trinkets. So in I don't want to spoil it. There's a steam design like a little gadget for everyone to wear to a party. And I feel like if we got to use that and just like spy on people and like, you know, chit chat like throughout the mall or like in a store, it would be
Mhm.
just so much fun to hear his
Yeah,
commentary on that. Just like people watch.
Oh, I
okay.
love
I
people
love people
watching.
watching. It's so fun.
I love people watching.
Yes,
It's so much fun.
it really is. So do you have plans for this book to continue? Like, is it supposed to be a series or is it just like a standalone?
So I write my stories in a way that if I wanted to continue it into a series, I can.
Okay.
And I have had several readers reach out like, there's more, right? Like, can we have more like from other
Okay.
characters? I was like, I mean, you could.
Mhm.
So I may or may not
Okay.
have a
All
couple of
right.
dumps that are already titled
Okay.
with
Okay.
characters and what would happen with them. So there's already like couple pairings in the book that would be easy to do. I will say that I have a bonus chapter, which is Davina and Mendex's first Christmas together. And
Mhm.
I'm also working on a short story for their wedding. And
Oh, I
their
love that.
wedding could be like the jump off point for like spin-off novellas for everyone
Okay.
else. So it's not off the table.
Mm-hmm. It's a
It's a
possibility.
very strong possibility.
We love possibilities. Yes.
Mhm. We
Is
do.
there anything else you want to say about the book? Like, where can people find it? Just anything you want people to know about this book.
Yes. It is on Kindle Limited. So if you have that, you can read it for free. I also have it stocked directly through my website, which is marilumoser.com. And you can buy it also on Amazon and you can request it at any store. So you can get it literally anywhere you want to get your book from.
Perfect.
If you
Love
like
that.
slow burn, friends to lovers, forced proximity, opposites attract, and you want like a good laugh and a good time, like this is the book that you've been waiting for. And there's also a really fun pet.
Agree.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely agree because we're
Yeah.
enjoying it so far.
Yeah, we really are. Now, I did have a question
Yes.
about this character loves our female main character loves tea. Do you have a special like tea combo or like where did you get inspired about like tea? Because I've been watching going back to TikTok. I don't know if you know about the oh my God, is it called high tea? She goes to different like tea shops for
Yes.
high tea.
Yes.
So I'm always curious. Well, reading this book, it made me think of her. So I was wondering, like, where did you get your inspiration for tea? If that was something that you enjoy doing personally?
So I enjoy tea. I'm
Okay.
not a super tea enthusiast. Like I
Mhm.
don't come to me for like a proper cup of tea because I'm still learning, you know? I do enjoy tea. Like I love like peppermint tea. I love, fruit teas and like, chamomile and Earl Grey, like Lady Grey.
Mhm.
Um, but the inspiration came from my other books actually, because in
Okay.
the other books, the female main characters all really love coffee and they drink a lot of coffee. And I wanted to make her different from that.
Okay.
And I was like, huh, well, what would be something that she would enjoy, but also that he would enjoy, knowing like his personality, like how he's very like sophisticated and classy. I'm like, okay, well, what about tea? And then I
Mhm.
went to like a deep dive of the tea world and did a whole bunch of research.
Mhm. I
Awesome.
didn't realize how big tea was
I didn't either.
until like I was looking it up and like I said, it was I forget what I think she's called the Queen of High Tea or something like that. She goes
Hmm.
to different tea shops and gets high tea and um or is it like what is it? High tea or like lunch or something and
Yeah.
like there's a whole process to it that
Hmm.
I didn't realize about just making it and what you should have with
Yeah.
it.
So I took that actually as an inspiration for a scene in the book.
Okay.
It's in the chapter of I think it's titled Friend Shaped.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Davina Mendax sitting down for tea.
Mhm.
And during my research, like you would see people giving like polar opposite of advice, like how you should make tea, what you should eat with tea. And
Mm-hmm.
I made that into that scene. I
Mm-hmm.
even did a poll on my social media, like, hey, how do you make your tea? Do you put milk in first or milk in after? Because
Mm-hmm.
they have that conversation and they're
Mm-hmm.
bantering. And she provides him with like a Twinkie for their snack during tea. And he's like, what are you doing? What is this? And it's so
Especially if it's a Twinkie
A
of all
Twinkie.
things.
And first of all, I have never in my life put milk in tea. I think that is so gross. And I know so many people that do it, and I hate it. But I also hate milk. So
Oh,
I
okay.
hate milk,
oat
but
milk.
Oat
I
milk.
always, ooh, it's too creamy.
She doesn't put
I
anything
just,
in her coffee either. So,
no, I put like a splash of cream and then that's it. But for my
mhm,
tea, I do honey. I just
mhm,
do honey for my tea. That's it.
mhm.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
And my favorite combo, if anybody ever wanted it, was dandelion leaf and root with green mint. It's freaking delicious.
I have to try
Just
that.
has
Mhm.
But
it's
like,
good.
I'm not a
And it's
big
good for
fruit
your
person.
belly.
I want to be. I think it's so cute. I love all the teacups and like the teapots. Like I want to be a tea girly, but it's really hard because I don't really like earthy flavors.
I don't even have a like a proper teacup. I just use like a coffee mug.
Mhm.
So I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine.
It's just a coffee mug.
Like I see the teacups and the saucers. I'm like, oh, that's so cute.
No.
I'm not
I
that.
had my husband actually bought me a teacup recently, and I keep it here on my desk. I don't actually use it.
I
Oh,
have one that's almost similar to that.
Cute.
Did it come with like a little, what is it?
A
What is it called?
spoon and a
No, a dolly? Is that what it's called? Yeah. I got the same one, probably a different color, but I definitely have that. That's hilarious.
I do like tea.
I'm like, I can't. I'm not that girl.
No, it's
Not
all
that
right. It's all
I'm
right.
drinking my cider out of a can. Me neither.
flavored water. We're fine.
Okay, let's get into book recommendations. So,
Mhm.
what is one book that you feel like if somebody asked you for a book recommendation outside of your own books,
Mhm.
what would you recommend?
Ooh,
I
any
know
genre.
any genre, whatever you want.
Okay, so I would say there is. It's a big book, but it's very like high fantasy. It's Here There Be Monsters by E.C. Garrett. I read that book. I devoured that book. It is so good. It is, there's shifters, there's witches, there's a lot of spice.
Can you repeat that?
Here There Be
What is it?
Here There Be Monsters.
Here there be
Yeah,
monsters.
by E.C. Garrett. That's a really good one. Another one that I always refer to is I actually like Mexican Gothic. I read that
Love
one
that
last
one.
year.
So
Love
good.
that book. It is so well written and just
Very
like
good.
you just
It's on
get
my
lost in that
TBR.
pages. It's
Mhm.
so good. Um, Another one would be I'm trying to think of what other genre. There's a series called Shadows Fall. It's an old like series, but there's like four books in that one, and it's so good. the way the character,
Sounds familiar though. Is that a paranormal too or no?
yes,
Okay.
it's like paranormal. I would say urban fantasy.
Okay.
And the way the characters move through the whole series, like you just feel for the main character as she like navigates this world and like she's falling for like the wrong guy, but is he the wrong guy? And you're like, oh, I thought he was good. Wait, no, he's not. Wait, he is?
I
So
love
you
that.
keep on your toes. Love it so much.
What's your favorite genre to read?
Mm, so even though I write in paranormal monster, I really enjoy any type of like romance genre, like contemporary, dark romance, mafia romance. Like I will read it all.
Mhm.
So like if it's in the romance genre, give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Nice.
I'm
I
very
love
specific with my
hmm
romance. I
hmm
have a small
It
window.
has to it has to be something else with romance.
Yes.
For
I,
Jenny,
I,
me,
yeah.
give me all the lovey-dovey or dark or smutty or like it does not matter.
Yes.
I want the romance.
Spice, no spice, like high
hmm
stakes, low stakes, cute,
Yeah.
fluffy, dark. I don't care. Give it to me. I
Yes.
Mhm.
Same. I love it all.
Yeah, if I'm gonna do romance, I need it to be dark.
Oh yeah.
That's my preferred type of romance.
Mhm.
I've read so much like dark romance where I'm like, is it me? Am I the problem? I only have myself to blame.
No.
Not even phased half the time anymore.
Of certain things, right? You're just like, oh,
So,
that seems normal.
yeah, I'm
Next.
like, yeah, that tracks.
It's fine.
It's
Everything's fine.
mhm.
In unpopular opinion, I like a third act breakup in some romances.
I do too, honestly.
And people are
She
like,
she hates them, but I need like that. I need something else thrown in there for me
yeah,
to actually like want to keep like okay drama. She is like no, fuck that.
No. Like all that work just out the window for a breakup. And then it's like, okay, I get it. Like the makeup is always better, but at the same time, it's like, no, you put them up here to then just rip them apart to then build them back together. Oh, why?
give me that high stakes angst. I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Agreed.
too fluffy and too cute. I'm
Yes.
I
disappointed.
guess.
All right, I think that brings us to the end of the episode. It was really fun talking to you. I'm so excited that we finally got to chat,
Yes.
and I'm
We're
excited that we
enjoying the
finally
book so
started the
much.
book.
I love being on here. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad you're enjoying the book too.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
we're
a
very excited.
blast. Do you
All
have
right.
anything coming up next that you would want people to know about before we say our final goodbyes? Or
I
where can we reach you? Where can readers find you? Any socials that you are currently on?
Mhm. So you can find me on Instagram and Threads. That's where I'm most active. Um, my username is Marilu Moser author, so I'm pretty easy to find. I also have my website, marilumoser.com, and my newsletter is on there too. That goes out every month. And on my newsletter, you get like the first sneak peeks of like blurbs and book covers, which I have revealed my newest book cover already. I have a book that's almost being done written, and I have one coming out in an anthology this year, in a few months actually. Um, I can give you the title if you want to be the first to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, Lassoed by the Orc. It is a cowboy orc romance.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's a little short story novella that will be
Okay.
this year.
Love
Um,
that.
the Gargoyle's Gift, that series, book 3, will be coming out soon as well. That's
Okay.
Love and Potions, and that follows Carlos and Sophia
Okay.
on their adventure. And after that, I will be working, which I'm currently working on as well, is a dark paranormal rom-com called Bite Me Darling, and is a vampire romance.
I
All
love
right.
them all. I want them.
And a
They
couple
sound so
of
good.
like tidbits, teasers, and like lines from there. So
All right, cool.
please
Oh,
stay
yeah.
tuned.
All good things.
Mhm.
I'm excited. Well, it was so great to have you on. Okay, well, thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It was
All
great
right.
meeting you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.